Labels can make you or break you. You know that feeling when somebody calls you the strong one, the responsible one, the sensitive one, and you agree on the outside, but on the inside you keep feeling you don't identify with that. You know that feeling when you put a mask on in social situations, in your business, in content creation, whatever you do in your day-to-day life, and then you get back home and you feel completely exhausted, almost like burnt out, but you cannot explain why. This is why. This is the reason this is happening. So, this is why today we're going to be discussing labels and how they can either help you thrive, they can either help you feel free, or they can keep you trapped in a box. Most of the people, especially in the spiritual community, they think that they don't need to use any labels, and they are constantly associating themselves with the true self, with being their soul at all times, being enlightened. And then we have other people that don't know who they truly are, which in my experience, those are most of the people in this society we live in. And if you ask them, who are you? They're going to reply, I'm a mom. I'm a businesswoman. I'm a businessman. I am a daughter. I am a doctor. I am a content creator. I am anything and everything besides who they truly are at their core. So that's why today we're going to be discussing labels, as I just mentioned, and how you can use them to your advantage, not by allowing them to keep you stuck, but by finding another way, which is going to allow you to be free. Because I don't subscribe to the idea that we don't need labels. We live in this material reality. We came here to experience the material realm too. We're not just a soul. Yes, we are souls that came here to inhabit this body, this mind. We have body, mind, and soul. I believe in all of that. And we need labels, because how are we supposed to communicate with each other if we don't use labels? And there is a way you can use labels to your advantage by not feeling trapped. So this is exactly what I'm going to be teaching you today, how to use them to your advantage to feel free and not trapped or exhausted or burnt out by them. Today I'm going to be trying something new. I basically had this intuitive knowing that I should get a board, a whiteboard, like I think around October or September last year. And even before that, I think a year ago, before I started my YouTube. So the time has come. I decided to get a whiteboard and to try something new. So let's see where that takes us. If you're new here, hi, my name is Chrisana. Here we speak all about inner work, self-development, and inner healing. Welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. So by the end of this video, you will know which labels you adapted unconsciously, because what we adapt unconsciously controls our lives, and then it doesn't allow us to feel free. It keeps us trapped. And which labels you've outgrown, maybe you chose them a while ago, but you don't associate yourself with that, and you keep choosing to use that label, which restricts you. Because if you don't know the difference, you'll keep attaching yourself to a role, identity, expectations that will keep you exhausted. And eventually they will keep you stuck in your old life, and then your old life will become this box, and then years will go by without you even realizing why you are still stuck in the same life, which is the box you created for yourself. So let's get into that. I want to start by distinguishing between those two core concepts, because this way you're going to see how you can use labels that serve you and not keep you trapped. Most people are here, and this is not about blaming you. I used to be here. Most of my coaching clients, when they come to me, they are here And this is happening because there is something unconscious. We don't do that consciously. We don't keep ourselves here trapped consciously. It's unconscious. We forget about the importance of how to use those labels. And most people cannot be here if they don't spend or they don't have the pain or the experience of being here for a while, because there is no darkness without light. There is no light without darkness. Sometimes we need to go through those periods of feeling trapped so we can see how freedom feels, how that sweet freedom feels. And that's exactly what are we going to be doing here today. We're going to start questioning your roles, identities, and expectations, because most of them, maybe you don't even need them anymore. And that allows you and gives you space to get to the next level of your life. I cannot stress that enough. Once you get here, you're making space for the next identity, for the next life. So with my clients, anything they want to achieve, we start by questioning that. We start by questioning where they've been with those roles, identities, and expectations, and where they want to be. When you get to this box, if you will, because as you can see, this box has dotted lines. Yeah, you get the point. So it's not exactly a box. You can get out of this box and in. You can use this box to your advantage, not by being trapped, but by oscillating between identities, roles, expectations, and keeping them lightly. So let's start by checking the characteristics of each category. Let me erase that. Because once you can see them side to side, you'll understand more of what we've been discussing so far. And this way, you're gonna start questioning those old identities and roles that don't serve you anymore, because they want you to get to the next level, right? Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna erase the two. We don't need that. But keep in mind that image that I draw in the beginning, because it's gonna be important. We have the box that keeps you trapped in one category, and the other one is the dotted box that allows you, gives you space to feel free. Is that the middle? I think that's the middle. So the dotted box, we're gonna call it freedom box, is the one that allows you to choose. And that is because it helps you identify those roles, those expectations, those identities, all of that perceptions of yourself, of your self image. So let's write that down. It helps you. Can you see that? I hope you can see that. Okay. To identify your roles, and I'm just gonna write expectations. Here. And once you identify those roles, those expectations, you have the freedom to choose those roles and identities. It gives you choice. And choice is incredibly important, because if you don't have choice, if you don't have if you don't have first awareness to identify those roles and expectations, you don't have choice. You get trapped inside that trap box, and you keep being trapped in the victim state. So this is why being in this box in the first category keeps you trapped. It doesn't give you a choice to choose because you cannot identify those roles. And at the same time, it keeps you into the victim state, which I think I'm gonna do a video because it's incredibly important and I haven't touched on this. So let me know down in the comments if you want a video of that, how to get out of the victim state, perhaps. So it keeps you in this victim state unconsciously, right? You don't know that you're in this because you don't have a choice. No choice. Let's say, for example, you have grown up in a dysfunctional family and they keep calling you the sensitive one. This is what happened to me, the overly sensitive one. So you keep being in this role, but you didn't choose that. This was not your choice. And you keep identifying with this. And that keeps you into the victim state because you think you don't have a choice because other people imposed their projections, basically, imposed a role, an identity onto you. And you didn't question that. You didn't question that because this is where you were in life. Maybe you were a child and you didn't have the tools. Children don't have the tools to question those kind of things. They just accept those things. Their parents are like gods to them, those perfect creatures. And this way, you are attaching yourself into an identity, maybe the sensitive one, the strong one. It goes on and on and on, right? It can be either boxed in a positive way or a negative. It doesn't matter because it limits you and it keeps you into the victim state. So you keep being attached because of that, because you think you have no choice. So what do we do when we think we have no choice? We stay attached to the label, to the outcome. I hope you can get my writing because it's not the best, but I'm doing my best here, okay? So you stay attached. And that limits you, that doesn't allow you to be in your true self, be in your wholeness, in the person you came here to be. It doesn't allow you to be in your wholeness, your true self. Those two things here are the same. It doesn't allow you to be there. And we want you to be in your wholeness because this is how you can get to the next level of your life. This is how you can get the life you always knew you came here to have and be the person you always came here to be, whether that's in terms of your career, whether that's in terms of your family, financial dynamics, anything. You need your wholeness to be the person you came here to be. You cannot do that without your wholeness. In fact, you are whole as you are, you just don't know that because you keep being in that victim state due to attaching yourself to those identities and roles that are not yours to carry. So the moment you name that role, the identity, the expectation, you identify that, not with it, you identify that, you are allowing yourself to release that victim state, to get out of that victim state because you are in this awareness of, oh, okay, people call me maybe the good girl in my friendships, in my relationships, in every area of my life, or they call me the peacemaker in my family dynamics. And then you start questioning that and you are like, oh, okay, so I don't have to be in that job anymore. I don't have to do that for others to feel accepted perhaps or to belong. And it is my choice to be in that role or not. and how I can be in that role or not. And that gives you freedom. This is why we're discussing the freedom box here. It gives you freedom to see that or to keep being on that. It's up to you. And now you have a choice, right? Next point, I think we already touched on that, but I want to expand on that. The freedom box helps you to remember your true nature, your true self, as we discussed, which is that you are not this body, you're not this mind, you're a soul who has a body and a mind. But again, not to use that to describe yourself as the enlightened one, this person that has it all together, the perfect one, the guru that came here to have control and power over other people. Not in this way. In a more of a free way, from detaching from all of those material illusions, because all of those roles, expectations, and identities, they can keep you trapped and keep you in this delusion of separation from God, from your wholeness. This is a delusion. Being separate from God, source, universe is a delusion or illusion. We are using that here in the same way. It's a delusion. So that's why keeping those roles, identities, and expectations lightly and not in an attached way, but also allowing yourself to use them, because you are a human being. You came here to this planet, right? It allows you to see that you are a soul. You are a soul, have a body, have a mind. So, mind body, actually, it's a better way. Mind body, which reminds you of your multidimensionality. It doesn't keep you trapped into thinking that you have one aspect to you, that you are only this body and nothing else. Which brings us here. It separates you. This trapped box, it separates you from your multidimensionality. Separates you from your multi dimensionality. And when you are separate from your multidimensionality, you cannot function in a way that allows you to be whole. And when you're not whole, you experience life from self doubt, from scarcity, from self sabotage, from procrastination, overthinking, a lot of anxiety, even depression. If you don't see yourself from those lens, from the God lens, from the universe lens, the source lens, use whatever word you want to use. I prefer to call it God, whatever works for you. If you don't see yourself from those God lens, you are in risk of all of those delusions or illusions, self-doubt, depression, anxiety. And I'm not saying that to invalidate anyone. Listen, I studied psychology for 8 years. I have 2 degrees in psychology. I'm not saying you are delusional or you are in an illusion if you have anxiety or experience depression. I am saying this is because you are not seeing yourself from the God lens, which is that you came here as a whole worthy self. You came here, which is your true self, right? This wholeness is your true self. And so we experience depression, anxiety, trauma because we experience a lot of wounds. And those wounds, those traumas are what keep us separate, what keep us separate from our wholeness and then from God. So, yeah, I'm not saying it's not valid to experience trauma or wounds. I'm saying this is one aspect of it. If you want to get into the clinical, it's because as children, we don't have the tools, we don't have the resources, our brain hasn't developed. So every wound or trauma we experience, pain, we are experiencing from the lens, or I did something wrong, so this must be my fault, so I am not worthy, I am not enough, I deserve this pain, so I might be a bad person even. So all of those things, they find a space into your subconscious mind and they establish their space there, and then they show up in your adulthood as depression, anxiety, all of those symptoms, as someone would call. It can also be from your adulthood too. It doesn't have to be childhood, but most of the time it's childhood. I would say, I don't know, 85% of the time, or even 90, it's from your childhood. And those things from your childhood doesn't have to come from your parents or your family. It can be from your school, it can be from your peers, bullying, can be from society expectations and roles from their, what someone should be as a man, as a woman. Men don't cry, women should nurture anyone and everyone, all of those roles and expectations. So those keep you separate from your wholeness and then from God. Hydration check. So this is matcha tonic, and this is delicious and really refreshing for summer. Let me know, what are you sipping on today? Okay, let's move on. The other really important thing is that when you separate yourself from your multidimensionality, your body, mind, and soul, you are becoming the label. You don't have space between you, the witness, the true self, and what is happening around you. Your thoughts, for example, your thoughts are not you. So you not only attach to those roles of being the good girl, of being the good daughter, of being a good employer, of being great at your job, of being a high achieving perfectionist. You don't just attach to those roles, you also become the label. It becomes your identity. And whatever becomes your identity, it becomes your reality. Let me write that for you, because this is one of the most important things, and I almost forgot to mention that. Whatever becomes your identity, becomes your reality. So this way, you cannot get to the next level of your life, because you get trapped by this identity of the good employer, of the high achieving person who needs to do everything perfectly, of the people pleaser. By the way, if you want to know more about being in those perfectionistic tendencies, people pleasing tendencies, not being able to make a decision, being in indecision mode, and one more thing that I don't remember right now, but essentially being in those roles keeps you in a survival mode. So this playlist is going to help you to get out of survival mode and into thriving and into understanding where you are right now. So I'm going to link this here. Feel free to watch that. It's going to help you a lot. But the point is that by being in those roles, you are being in this identity, and then by being in this identity, you are being in this reality. You cannot build the new life, the life that gets you the career you always wanted, the money you always wanted, the client you always wanted, living in that place you always wanted to live, having fulfilling relationships, being in a meaningful partnership, anything else you might want to achieve. This way, and this is what most people will never tell you because this is quite a nuance, so pay attention. This way, you are abandoning other parts of yourself, and by abandoning other parts of yourself, you are gaslighting yourself. You're invalidating yourself, those parts of you that might need something different from perfectionism, from people pleasing, from being the good daughter. Perhaps you have a sassy side to you. Perhaps you have a side to you that, I don't know, wants to go to the cinema, but you haven't been to the cinema for so long because your friends don't go to the cinema, and you are essentially abandoning this part of you that loves art, loves the cinema, because you want to be accepted by those other people, and you keep being in this space of the good girl, the good friend, but not realizing that it costs you. It costs you from not only not getting the life you want, but also it costs you because you keep disappointing this other part of yourself that loves cinema and theater. I know that's just a simplistic example, but you can apply that to your own life right now. How are you abandoning a part of yourself for the sake of this identity or this role? Maybe you're a new mother and you haven't had time for yourself. You feel like you're losing yourself. This is actually what most women experience when they enter motherhood. So, abandonment. And that costs you not only the relationship to your new reality, but also the relationship to yourself. You stop trusting yourself when you're abandoning other parts of yourself, which it costs you your self-esteem. That leads to low self-esteem. Let me write that because this is also really important. I don't have a lot of space here, but we're gonna make it work. We're gonna make it work. What did I say? What did I say? Okay, abandonment leads to losing self-trust, and losing self-trust leads to low self-esteem. And of course, that impacts your confidence and how you handle yourself in your everyday life, basically, or maybe in that specific sector of your life. Maybe that's your career, your family, your finances, your health, maybe even. So, yeah, apply that to the specific area of your life you see yourself attaching this role or identity or even expectations. I know I haven't touched a lot on expectations, but this can apply to expectations too, because usually those expectations are tied to those roles. Not always, but usually. And last point, which is also something that isn't talked enough in spirituality, because a lot of people, and I did that in the beginning too, I'm not here to blame anybody in the spiritual journey. A lot of people, they use their spiritual journey only for themselves, when in reality we do that to if you dive deep, it's not for ourselves. It's to make a better life for other people too. It's to have better relationships, and it's also to serve people, to be a person that serves this community, this society, to leave something behind, a legacy, if you will. Someone now might say that's selfish. Yeah, but is it? Is it? Is it only for selfish reasons? Because I don't think so. Especially if you are watching this video, I assume you are a person that leads from their heart. So you are only doing more good. If you want to accomplish your desire or goal or vision for this life, you are also allowing yourself to serve other people through that purpose. I don't believe that there is a human that can have a heart-led purpose and that not aligning, that not corresponding to serving others. I don't believe in that. This is about being in agreement with others. And I'm gonna explain what I mean in a bit. Agreement with others. And this where you are setting clear expectations. Okay, what do I mean by that? So, having an agreement is incredibly important, because how are you supposed to connect to other people if you're not in agreement with what you're saying and what you're doing and who you're being, which is your identity, your roles, your expectations, all of those? How are you supposed to set clear expectations, especially if you have a business? You cannot set clear expectations if you're not in an agreement with somebody. Like, for example, I coach people, like, I send them an agreement so we know what are the expectations of those sessions, and we both know our roles in this container. Like, because if you don't have expectations, you build resentment, which brings me to the other box. You are so attached to a role that you are this role and you don't communicate that to others. What does that mean to you? Because same words mean different things to a lot of people. So for example, a lot of people do coaching, but they are actually consulting other people. So that's not exactly coaching. Coaching is not about advising other people. Yeah, I'm doing here more of teaching style, but in my sessions, I'm not gonna say to you what you should do in your life. I am guiding you into knowing and extracting the wisdom out of you so you know what you can do. And I'm just bringing light into things that were in this dark space, perhaps. So that's a different role than consulting or mentoring. And a lot of people don't set clear expectations for that. So this is how resentment is being built in relationships, in any kind of relationships. I am using here the example of coaching, but especially, not especially, but even in your family relationships or in your health journey. Maybe you have a trainer or something, maybe you haven't set clear expectations with them, and then of course there is a lot of resentment and even anger. Even anger, I see that a lot of people who are here experience this in their relationships, and then there is rupture in their relationships, not knowing why, but it was because they didn't set clear expectations. an agreement. And listen, the agreement, it doesn't have to be official, it doesn't have to be a paper. It's just like, okay, the most simple example is, should we go to this pizza place tonight at that time? This is an agreement. That this is an informal agreement. So you need to be on the same page with people. And if you're not on the same page, this is going to result in resentment and anger. And then you have to have extremely amazing communication skills to resolve that. And then to have a corrective experience with that person, because if you don't, there's going to be rupture. And a lot of ruptures in relationship, they cannot be resolved because this whole loop has been going on for years. So then there's no way back from that. So keep that in mind when you limit yourself in this box. There is a chance that resentment and anger, they're gonna create, I think I was out of the frame, but anyway, this is gonna result in resentment and anger. And we don't want you. We don't want that for you. We want you to be in healthy relationships, right? So yeah, this is so important. When we have those blur lines between expectations and roles and identities within relationships, we are essentially not communicating where we are at. And this is most likely to happen when we are in this box, because as I said, being in this box is unconscious. It's not conscious. So those roles you're taking on, they are unconscious. And unconscious roles and expectations lead to resentment. This is why, again, this is why most relationships fail. It's not betrayal. Most people break off relationships, and even they leave their jobs feeling resentment because of that. I remember when I was in London, when I was working in this clinical setting, it wasn't clear. The role wasn't clear. And then I had to work within myself with this build up resentment and anger. And I had to make a choice to stay there, but clearing, because I was doing a lot of inner work, but clearing the resentment and anger by myself, because I didn't want to communicate that to them. So I had no other choice. Probably right now I would communicate that, in a professional way. This is what I do with my clients. That's why I'm so big on setting clear expectations and roles, because if you don't, then you're gonna resent your work environment, then you're not gonna fulfill your role, you're gonna be in this constant state of victim and even helpless, because you're gonna feel like you have no choice, because a choice was not given to you. Because when I went to when I went to the interview, the role was described in a different way. So it felt like the choice was not given to me. Felt like they took away the choice from me, if that makes sense. Of course, I'm not blaming them. I'm just stating that leads to resentment, because we are all adults here, right? There's no place to blame other people, at least to my view. Of course, if you are a victim of abuse or trauma, that's a different conversation. But in this occasion, I felt like I wasn't given the choice, the option. So, of course, then I had built up resentment and anger, and I didn't want to communicate that to them. Probably right now, I would communicate that, because this is what I do with my friends, with my family, within my business and clients. But I didn't want to do that back then. So I found a way to release that resentment and anger within myself and move on and set clear expectations within myself, and of course fulfill my roles and expectations in their way it was described, and not by releasing this anger and resentment, which is not as easy as it seems, but it is possible. I don't want you to think that this always leads you here, and then if you result here, you don't have a choice. You always have a choice. Even if you're here, even if you're in this unconscious box, you think you don't have a choice. You think, but you do have a choice. So it's just the illusion again of not having a choice. So remember that it's not that you are actually in this victim state, it's that you believe you're in this victim state, and that doesn't allow you, excuse me, and that doesn't allow you to have a choice because you are so attached to this victim state. So this is how labels can make you or break you. This is how you can use labels to free you or trap you. And I want you to remember that you always have a choice. Even if you are in this trapped box, you always have a choice to pivot to the other box that has freedom in it, because you can get out of this box and in and not stay trapped in all of those unconscious traps. And this is exactly how you can use the freedom box to essentially get you to the next level of your life. To not get stuck in this old identity, in those old roles and expectations that lead you to resentment and anger, even burnout and exhaustion. No, you get to choose what you want for your life. Even if it feels like you are the victim here, remember you always have a choice. You always have a choice. The first step is always awareness. So I hope this video served you. I hope you now have the tools to get here. If you need more help with that, this is exactly what we do inside Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is all about helping you during a life transition. Maybe you moved to another country, maybe you decided to change your career, maybe you are entering marriage, maybe you broke up, maybe you are experiencing health issues. Whatever it is for you, and you want a better life for yourself, even if you're not in the middle of this transition and you want to get into this next level of your life, this is what we do inside Metamorphosis. So I'm going to leave the link down below. And yeah, this was the video for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.